Okay. Who are the bad guys on the internet, right? Those are the people who are the tell-it-all, people that share too much information, you know, share too much information, and it can be about yourself, your family, and your friends. It can be the hacker, that's the intruder, the person who accesses your account and personal information without permission. Then we have the clickbait or the fisher, and that's the person that gains access to your personal information by tricking you, right? Those are the ones that give you all the little tricks, and you think, oh, this seems legitimate or legit. So you click on it, but it's actually not a good link to have clicked on. Usually they harm your device with malware, and malware basically means like a virus, right? So almost think of a coronavirus, or think of it coronavirus for your system, for your computer, for your account. Once they get access, that's what they release into your account, and then they steal information. A lot of bad things can happen. And then lastly is the troublemaker slash the cyber bully. Those are the people online that are just there to hurt your feelings, and they're mean, right? So we want to talk about all of this, identify who they are, make sure, number one, that we are not doing any of these things. And number two, we know what to do when we come across this as well. Okay. Hang on. Okay. So some of you might be here today wondering, why do we even need to be talking about this? What's the big deal? We know how to be online. We know how to do things online. Why are we talking about this? But I want to do oh, somebody says they can't hear me. Really? Um, Let me pause real quick. Can you all hear me? I wonder if it's your, okay. People say they can hear. Um, Maybe you want to log out and log back in, or make sure that your audio is on and you're not somehow. I think it might be your audio because majority can hear me. So please try that again, okay? Log out and maybe log back in. All right, so why we need a guide. So I was saying, why are we even talking about this, right? The reason we talk about it, and from a parenting perspective, is none of us would drop our children on the third mainland bridge and say, good luck. I hope you can get home. I hope you know your way back. We're not going to do that, right? Before we take our children anywhere, if you have a play date, your parents are going to think about, okay, who's taking you there? When you get there, who's picking you up? At what time are you getting back? Whose house are you going to? Right? So it's the same thing when we're talking about online world. It's just a virtual world, but it's still our lives. It's still real life. So a lot of us cannot just give our children, we shouldn't just give you phones or laptops or tablets, give you access to the internet. And guess who you're connected to? You're connected to billions of people. Who can guess how many billions of people actually are online? Does anybody know? If you have any idea whatsoever, drop it in the chat. How many billions of people do you think are online? Let's just see and then how many billions do we have in the whole world? So how many are in the whole world? How many people in the whole world? And how many of those people are online? If anybody wants to guess, just drop it in. Somebody is saying 3 billion, 1.6 billion, 800 billion. We have, how many people do we have in the whole world? I saw a report recently that said that we now have about half of the whole world's population now online, now on social media. So imagine that. So every time you're online, thank you for all the answers. Every time you're online, you are able to access and you are able to connect with billions of people online. Now, it would not be responsible to just leave you to fend for yourself and to figure it out. It's the same reason why we're talking about all of this and why we need a guide. Okay? Does anybody know what this is? If there's any parents who's watching this with their children, when I was younger, before the internet, and there was a time before that, we used to write letters to our friends, and they were called pen pals. So literally, you would find a pen pal, you would write to them. It would take weeks for them to get the letter. Usually, your pen pals would be in a um, different country, and you will write to them, and then they would write to you back, and that would take weeks. So that's how we used to, before the internet, that was how we used to communicate with people. Okay, who knows what this is? Who's ever seen one before? I remember the first time my children saw this a few years ago. They said, what is this? They didn't know what it was. They were like, how do you even use it? How do you make a call with this, right? So for those of us, yes, I see a mom here who's saying me. a telephone set. You have one in your house, really fantastic. But that's how a lot of us used to do phone calls. You would do this and you wait for dial tone. Dial tone. Now you just pick your phone. In fact, a lot of you don't even make phone calls now, right? A lot of you just text somebody or message somebody. Okay. Then what about this? Who knows what this is? Somebody said you've seen the phones in the movies. This is what we used to use. Okay. Who knows what this is? Yes, a typewriter. Who here has used a typewriter before? Who here has ever used a typewriter apart from us? Okay, I remember when I was in secondary school, I had to learn how to type using a typewriter, and then you do it at good memories. But let's not go to that. Somebody says they saw it in Snoopy. Never ever seen one. This is how we used to type. And there was a time. Remember, I started with pen pals. There was a time you could only write with a pen. Then there was a time you could only phone if you happen to have this kind of telephone. There was a time the only way to type documents was a typewriter, and you would have to type. Imagine typing long documents on a typewriter. Okay, who knows what this is? This is one of the very first cars ever. There's no seat belt. There's no what's that thing called? There's no airbag, right? There's nothing to protect you. This is just a car. If any accident happens, you're in trouble. Now we have seat belts, we have airbags, we have different things. So I'm showing you all of this to show that there was a time when the things that we all use now were new. And that's why we need a guide. Who knows what this last picture represents? Who knows what this last picture represents? The computer. These were the oldest computers. See how big it was. It took a whole room. Now, our computers are what? Number one, they are laptops. We have tablets. Even our phones now are mini computers. They are so small, but they pack so much power. Our phones today are so much more powerful than old phones before. All right, guys. I think this was an exciting slide, but the idea is, remember that everything we're using today, everything came from somewhere, and every time something came out, it was new. We needed to figure it out. We needed to learn the right ways to use it. Nobody now that's responsible would be in a car and not use their seatbelt, or would not put a baby in the car seat, right? Cars now need to have an airbag, because God forbid there's an accident, the airbag can protect the people in front. So do you see how there's always an evolution? And with the evolutions, you need to have the tools in place to ensure that we are using it safely. So that is why we need a guide. And that is why we have to talk about the digital world. We have to talk about being online and use a guide to ensure that we are safe in the online world. Don't think you have all the answers. Nobody does. And we have to make sure that while we're using these new things in the digital age, in the fourth industrial revolution, which is what we're in, technology, digital, we have to use it correctly. Okay. Yes, the internet existed since the 60s, but before it became accessible to majority of us, it took a while. So it was there in the 60s, but it was more for the government and security and all of that were using it. And then it became something everybody is using. Okay. But it didn't come with a manual on how to use it. So that's why we're talking about this. Okay. Now, why do we need a guide? We need a guide because there are a lot of things that come with using the internet and being online. Okay. There are a lot of things that came up from using the internet, from being online, from using social media. And that's why we need a guide. So some of the things we need to talk about are, FOMO. Who knows what FOMO means? Fear of missing out. Sometimes that feeling when you're online or you're on social media and you're watching different people's lives, and maybe sometimes you're thinking, oh, they seem to be having more fun than me. Or, oh, why didn't they invite me to that party? Or, oh, there's so many things that you're thinking when you see somebody online sometimes, and you don't know that you're comparing yourself. So you need to make sure that when you're doing anything online, you are very careful not to compare yourself to anybody else, or not to try to do what everybody else is doing. Okay. Want to think about screen time limits. Should anybody be on the computer for 10 hours, 15 hours a day? Absolutely not, right? So you have to think about screen time limits, because if you don't think about the limits for yourself, that means you can be online all the time. And that's nothing in excess is good. Nobody should eat, for example, morning, noon, and night and be eating chocolate all the time. Or you are eating eba all the time. You need to make sure that you're putting the limits in place. Okay, so it's the same thing with screen time limits. That's why we're talking about it. You need to be aware. How long have I been online? Okay, I need to take a break. I need to walk around. I need to get up. If I've been on TikTok or whatever for 3 hours, okay, that's a bit much. So you need to start learning to self-regulate so that you yourself know when you've been online for too long. And then the other thing I want to talk about quickly is for those of you already using social media, you want to make sure that your notifications are turned off. Those ones that where anybody sends you a message, you're getting a notification, your phone is always pinging, always ringing. You want to control it. You want to control it, okay? So for a lot of you that are on social media already, just try and make sure that these are the little things you can do to reduce the amount of time you're online. Somebody's asking me here that why on screen time limits. Okay, we'll talk about that if we have time. We'll get into it. But there's a lot of reasons and research that has been shown that if you spend too much time online, number one, you can get addicted to it. Number two, there are other things in your life you need to do. You're in school, so you need to study, you need to do other things, you need to get outside. There's also too much sitting. When you're on screen times too long, it means that you're sitting all the time. And there's actually a negative health effect to sitting too much. So that's part of why you have to take breaks. You need to go to bed as well and have a good night's sleep. So there are many reasons for screen time limits. Okay. Then I want to talk about privacy settings. If you are using social media or you're online, try and make sure that your accounts are set to private. Remember, we talked earlier how many billions of people are online. You want to make sure that your accounts are set to private so that it's only the people you really want to see you and know what you're doing that see you online. All right. And then I want to talk about blue light. Blue light is the light that is reflected from your screen. You might not see it as blue, but the way they are designed, it's a blue light that emits from your phone and your tablet. So those blue light, research shows that it actually reduces a hormone that's called melatonin. And that's the hormone we need to sleep. All of us, when it gets to bedtime, you start to feel a bit tired. The hormone that's released in our body is called melatonin, and it allows you to go to bed at night. But this blue light actually blocks the release of melatonin. So you see, if you are using your phone late into the night, you are not going to be tired because it's going to suppress the release of these hormones. If you don't sleep well and you don't get the right amount of sleep, it affects you the next day. And lack of sleep is a problem long term as well. So you can see how all of these things are connected, right? You can't just be on devices all day without any controls. Then the filters, what we're talking about here for the filters is to make sure that you are also very careful that you don't constantly, let me rephrase. Filters and CGIs go hand in hand. So CGI stands for computer generated imagery. And that means people who create, I don't know if you've ever seen, I did this session some time ago for young adults, and quite a few of them follow robots, online robots, but they've been created to seem like they are human. There are quite a few of them now. And we talked about this at the online masterclass we had for parents as well. There are quite a few of them, and you wouldn't even know that they are not human. So if you're following someone like that, you're watching them, you're comparing yourself to them, except it is not even a real person. And some people didn't know that. So the importance of talking about this is I want you to be like digital detectives. You need to be careful when you're online, when you're consuming something, when you're reading something. Always pause and think, is this true? Have I verified it? Is this affecting me negatively? You need to start being your own detective. Okay. And then lastly, I want to talk about text neck and the eyesight. There's a lot of medical doctors are concerned. A lot of us are using our phones too much and we're bending our heads like this, right? All of you do like this. I'm sure a lot of you, when you're using your phones, this is what you're doing to look down at it. It's bad for your neck. It's bad for your neck, okay? You want to make sure that you are looking up and you're looking at your screen like this. If you're using your phone, you're using your phone like this. I know it's not a natural way to use it, but you need to look up for your phone, okay? So when you're even online for the good things, of course, you're learning, you're watching YouTube, you're learning different videos and all of that. Pay attention to how you bend your neck. Make sure it's upright because it's affecting your formation. It's affecting your bones and your back, and you're still developing, guys, okay? And lastly, your eyesight. If you're online for so long, your eyesight is being affected. Okay, doctors are saying that a lot of children now are needing to wear glasses more than ever before because they're on these screens for so long. And the more you're online, guess what, you're not blinking as much as you should. And that not blinking naturally, it's affecting eyesight, is leading to different types of things, dry eyes. There's a lot of things going on behind the scenes. So I'm not saying all of this to scare anybody, of course not, but knowledge is power. I want you to be empowered to know how you are showing up online, what you're doing online, and be able to check now and then. Thank you for reminding me, Olumide, in terms of what are filters. Filters are literally when some of you here maybe are not using it, but filters are basically when on Snapchat, for example, people are able to filter their pictures. So by the time they take the real picture versus the finished picture, they filtered it so much that they're not the same person. And what happens when you do too much filtering is that people start to, guess what, they start to not like how they look normally because they're so used to filtering and manipulating their pictures that they're starting to get used to their filtered face and not their real face. And these are real situations, guys. So I'm not saying don't use filters now and then, but don't get so hung up on always using filters that you start to have a challenge with your own face. Okay, yes, it is sad, but a lot of people are starting to do that. They then look in the mirror versus their filtered face and they feel like, I don't look as good as the pictures I've been putting on social media. And then guess what? Some of them don't even want to meet people in the physical because they feel that I don't look like the filtered picture. And I'm not making this up just to do story. It's true, guys. Okay, you don't like filters, good. What did someone say here? You filter their lips to be green. There's so much. You can use it for fun, but the truth is when you're not careful, you're not aware. Remember, we're digital detectives. Overall, if we're not careful and thinking about this, it becomes second nature. All right, let's move on. Let's move on. I'm conscious of time and I want us to make sure we have time for Q&A at the end. Okay, now we're talking about the bad guys. So the tell it all, right? So we've talked about online safety a little bit. We've talked about why we need a guide. We've talked about some of the reasons that we're even talking about being aware of how we use the internet, social media and all of that, right? So social sites like, Facebook, Instagram, they give you the opportunity to share about yourself. And that's what it is, social media, meaning connect with other people. But sometimes you share too much information about yourself that can be dangerous for you and your family. So one of the things you want to make sure you do before you share anything online is pause before you post anything and ask yourself, could it harm you, your reputation, somebody else? So for example, we had a situation where um we were traveling and my daughter could tell from the airport that a friend of hers was also traveling. And I said, how did you know? Do you know how she knew? Snapchat showed her that the person was in the airport and the person was pulling, and her avatar was pulling a travel bag. Okay, so this is why when I talked earlier about privacy settings, try and make sure that when you're on these platforms, because I won't say don't get on them, we'll talk about the age you should, but if you're on them, you want to be sure that you're safe online, okay? Not everybody needs to know your movement. Not everybody should know where you live, right? So you have to be careful and not share too many things. Sometimes the things that are shared online, you didn't even mean to share them. It's just because your account is set to that public, you're not private, your GPS is not turned off, your location is not turned off. Everybody will know when you go down the road to buy ice cream from Tasty Fry, from Chocolate Royale, or when you go to buy pizza from Domino's. Nobody needs to know all of that. You want to avoid sharing public information, your address, your phone number, your email, your school and travel location. You want to think about it. Sometimes maybe you're filling a form for school. Yes, they might ask you for your email. Or you're coming for a course like this. Yes, we might ask you for your email so we can communicate with you. But however, you want to be careful that you're not sharing all your information publicly because it can be dangerous and bad people can pick it up and use it. Okay. Now I'll talk about digital footprints. Okay. Remember, what you share online stays online. So back to that tell it all, sharing too much information. 70% of teenagers, for example, this is a survey we carried out, they hide their online life and behavior from their parents. Why? If you can't let your parents know what you're doing online, if you're hiding it from them, why are you hiding it? That means maybe you're doing something that they don't approve of, something that's not really good, something that you yourself are concerned about. Why should you hide your online life from your parents? Right? If anybody wants to share why you think anybody should want to hide their lives, you can. But the truth is that it's not good to hide your lives from anybody, right? So you want to make sure that you are not living a life online that you're not proud of. Now, digital footprint means that anything you share online kind of stays there forever. Now, though, there's been a new release from Google actually, where if somebody shares something about you online that shouldn't be there, there's now a process for you to reach out to Google and ask for them to take down the image. But the truth is that that's a long story, long road. You want to control what goes out there. Okay, so think about what you're sharing, because what you share online stays online forever. I want to share some stories so that you know this is real. There was a little girl, called a 13-year-old girl from a school in Virginia, and she was chatting with an 18-year-old man over an anonymous messaging app called Kik, K-I-K. And he actually, yes. What? And he killed her in January. I know it's scary and it's not the kind of story we want to hear, but you need to know these things because anybody online can say they are who they are. I can create an avatar and call myself Bosse, and I'm 14 years old, and say that I live in Ibadan and I'm coming to Lagos. And hey, you know what? Let's meet up. Don't tell your parents. Just come and meet me at Chocolate Royale, and let's just quickly meet up and bounce on the bouncy castle. You don't know. How do you know that Bosse is actually Bosse? And she's 14. She could be anybody. She could, so you have to be very careful. The same way your parents will tell you not to go home with a stranger cannot come to your school and pick you up and say, let's go. You are not going to go with a stranger. Remember that online, strangers are still strangers. So the rules in the physical still apply in the online world. You just need to make sure that you are bringing the same common sense. Okay, you have to bring the same common sense you want to bring the same common sense to the online world. You don't want to just believe what anybody says. And remember, when somebody starts saying things like, come, let's hang out, let's meet physically, that's a red flag. Especially when you're young and you're a child, you should not go and meet anybody that you have only met online by yourself or even with another friend. Your parents need to know. Okay, so I'm sharing that so that we're aware that not everybody online has good intentions. Now, I know when it comes to Snapchat, and I think even WhatsApp now has released it, is that every time you share something, the idea is that once somebody views it, it does what? It disappears. But I came across this in 2018 that they found out that there was a situation where their what's the word I'm looking for? Their servers were hacked. So you need to be very careful that you don't share inappropriate things and you think that once the person views it, it disappears. Guess what? I'm sure we've all heard of the cloud, right? So a lot of the things that we share online go to the cloud. So if it goes to the cloud, that means that it's in a server somewhere and anybody can access it anytime. So just be very careful what you share and with who. Okay. Then this is a long one, but I'll just summarize for you. Is that I'm sure you're not thinking about that now, probably, but down the line, you will want to get an internship, you want to get a job. Nowadays, when somebody wants to hire you for a job, or even if it's your own company, and maybe you're an entrepreneur, I say you won't get a job, but somebody wants to use your services, wants to use your company for something or buy your product, they're probably going to Google you. Now, if you have shared too much information about yourself online, it can hurt you. So you have to be careful. And remember I said earlier, you have to pause before you share anything. Think, how is it going to affect me? Because I have a phone in my hand or a tablet in my hand does not mean that I have to share this. So think about a digital footprint as almost like breadcrumbs. Yeah, dropping a little bit of yourself online. So anything you share online, anybody can see it. And ultimately, you want to control it. You have the power, not the device. I mean, not the device, not the social media platform. You have the power. So you need to think about it before you post online. All right. But it's not all bad, right? So that's why I said we have to have a balanced view. It's not all bad. There's some people, this is a particular story I came across that I really loved. A high school child who, for a year, posted anonymously wonderful things about every member of his class, of his year. And he kept it a secret until graduation day and he revealed himself. So that was a great way to use being anonymous on social networks. So we can use it for good. Because we're online doesn't mean it has to be used for the bad things. We can use it for good. There are also people who have used being online to get good opportunities, good jobs, find good people, network with people online. obviously still being safe. So the idea here is, guys, you have the power, you can use it the right way, and you have to be aware and think about why you are really online. Pause before you think. So let's quickly go through some of the things you can decide when it comes to things you can think about when you're online. Because all of you, a lot of you, 70 something percent of you here said that you are online every day, right? That's a lot of you. And a lot of us are online every day, and you will continue to be online every day. Because guess what? We're in a digital world. So even parents, when I talk to them, you can't run away from me. You can't hide it. You can't say your child will not be online. We are all in a digital age. So you kind of have to be online in today's day and age. The question is, when do you get online? And when you do get online, are you doing the right things? Are you paying attention to what you should? So this is a guide to help you think about what you are sharing and why. Number one, what are you sharing? Is it positive? Okay. Is it good? Is it helpful? Why are you sharing? Think about that. Is it true? Is it to encourage? Is it to entertain? When you start getting used to thinking about things, your brain will start to process that way. I'm very interested in something called neuroscience and the brain. And our brain is a muscle. It means that we can train it. We can train it. So you want to make sure that you're constantly somebody's saying, bro, you don't share anything. Why are you sharing anything? So you want to constantly be pausing before you, because when you have this phone, and they're very addictive, all these social media platforms, everything. It's not about you guys. The people that design it to be addictive. That's why when you get on, you can find yourself 3 hours, 1 hour, you've been scrolling videos, you've been sharing your own, and you have other things to do that you haven't gotten to. So it's not about you. They are very addictive. That's how they are made to. There's a show on Netflix that you can also encourage your parents, and you can watch it with them as well. I think the rating is, I'm not sure about the rating confirmed, but it's called Social Dilemma. And it's a show on Netflix that basically shows you how these algorithms work and how they've made it so that this when you're on their platforms, they suck you in. They want to keep you on there. They want to keep you on there as long as possible. So think about why you're sharing. Is it true? Who are you sharing with? Then you want to think about, who are you sharing it with? Is it people you know? Remember, we've said when you're online, you're there with what? With billions of people potentially. And we wouldn't take you to Third Milan Bridge. We wouldn't take you to the middle of a market and drop our children there and say, all right, good luck. We hope you don't get into trouble or nothing bad happens to you. We won't do that. So it's the same thing with the online world. The same common sense should follow us there. So who are you talking to? Are they people you know? Are they friends? Are they strangers? And because somebody says builds an avatar, we've talked about it. I can say that my name is Sophie and I live in Australia, and you won't know, right? Even pictures. I can get a picture from the internet, can't I? And just say, oh, I just went to the Starbucks down the road. So anybody can create any persona. You have to connect with people that you truly know. Okay. And then when you're sharing anything online, think about it. Will I be happy to see this in 5 years' time? If my grandma saw this, we should be happy with it. You want to try and be doing those kind of checks for yourself. Okay. And then when you're online, when you share things, think about what you're sharing, what you're reading, what you're watching. Does it make you feel better, worse? Does it make somebody else feel bad? These are some of the things we need to think about. And then, what are you liking? What are you resharing? When you like something, when you reshare something, it's all part of your digital footprint. Now, let me give you a crazy story. There was somebody that applied to go to a university in America called Harvard. I don't know if you've heard of it. Who's heard of Harvard? One of the top universities in the US. And when he got to the airport, right, and they were interviewing him, they found out that he had liked or reshared something from somebody who was like a terrorist, somebody that they had on the red list for, terrorism flag. And he had reshared, or he was following the person. The person was his friend. I think it was Facebook. And, they said, why are you following this person? Why are you following this person? And because of that, they detained him, they interviewed him for a long time, and then they deported him. They had to then go into fighting and trying to make sure that they tried to what's what I'm looking for, clear up his name and explain to them that he didn't have any connection to this person. He didn't even really know. He just liked the person, was following them, and retweeted something. So the point is, be careful who you follow, what you like, what you share. All right. Is it a positive influence, or is it somebody saying questionable things? Remember, you have the control. You can stop following whoever. And before you click follow, you chose to click follow. Nobody made you do it. So always make sure you're asking yourself those questions. All right. Now let's quickly talk about the hacker. That's the person that accesses your personal information without your permission. All right. So make some of the things you can avoid being hacked. And I don't know if anybody here has actually been a victim of being hacked. I have been a victim of being hacked. Some of the things you can do is to make sure that you have a unique password. Yeah, I see somebody here saying they hate hackers. They are horrible, and there's some people. Just remember that there are some people, bad people out there. That's true. That's just the truth. So we are all good guys, and we want to make sure we're protecting ourselves online. So always some of the things you can do to protect yourself from hackers, because some of these hacking systems are just programs that are just randomly trying to see which systems they can hack. Make sure your passwords are unique. Don't use the same password for everything. Your password cannot be 12345 or your name. Those are very easy to guess. So try and make sure your passwords are a bit complicated. They have uppercase, they have lowercase, they have symbols, right? They have symbols, maybe hashtag, things like that. Exactly. They make you pay to get your information back. Some of them are done, and it's cyber criminality. It's cyber criminals, right? So it's like just a thief actually coming to somebody's house. God forbid. That's the same thing. They're stealing your information, but you have to protect yourself. The same way you will lock your front door every night, you will lock your gate at night. Is the same way you should think about your online world and your online space. How do you protect it? Passwords is one thing. Don't give your password to anybody, not even your friend. Your parents should have your password for protection, but you don't give your passwords to anybody else. If you're using a public system, public computer in the library, in school, make sure you log out. Don't, and then don't save your password onto devices like that. So remember, it's about digital detectiveness, being aware, and making sure that these are guides we need in this world that we're in. So don't use personal information, for example, just as your name, password, phone number for your passwords. I mean, phone number, birthdays for your password is very easy to guess. Don't share, and don't remember not to remember my password on any public device. Okay, now we're talking about the clickbait. That's the phishing. Has anybody here seen those pop-ups that will say, click here to win a PS5 or click here to win some money? Right? Yes, 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 yes. Those guys are fishers. Is a clickbait. They know that most people are going to say, maybe I can win that iPhone 12. Oh. Maybe I can win that iPhone 15. Yeah, thank you for being honest. Yes, sometimes you click on it. Yeah, somebody's asking about what if you click on suggest a strong password. That's great. You can click that because those strong passwords are a mix of things. The only challenge is that, you know what, sometimes you might not remember that. So one of the good ways to create a good password is for you to have a system. Okay. So maybe you are using your name, your mom's name, your favorite shop, and your favorite food. And you find a way to create your own system. Put some, maybe instead where A should be, you put at sign. Like you can play around with it so that you have a system in your mind that helps you remember. But you can also find tools that help you save your password somewhere. But don't write it in the back of your notebook, because anybody that gets that notebook and you put www.xyz.com, password is this, and you write it down. Guess what? Anybody that gets that notebook knows your password. So there are many ways for you to think about how to create it and then how to save it somewhere, that's secure. Okay. So this clickbaiting is when somebody puts something. It's called clickbait for that reason. They want you to do something. They want you to give them your information. Sometimes all it takes is for you to click on it, and that's where the malware, remember the virus, that's how it comes into your system. So if you see anything that seems too good to be true many times, don't click on it. So for example, some people have had their bank accounts cleaned out because they will get an email or something that says, oh, we're writing you from GT Bank and we need you to verify that your email and password is correct. Click here. Many times you're better off not clicking and calling your account officer. Even adults are falling victim to this because the truth is it's adults that have bank accounts, right? Not children. You have to be careful because these guys, they're criminals. They are just online and they're trying to use ways to lure people in. So if an offer seems too good to be true, do what? Run. Nobody's dashing you a free iPhone 12. That's the truth. So don't click on those things. When you click on it, sometimes that's how they get into your systems and they steal your information. Always make sure that the URL is the website address. Does it match? So if you want to go to, can somebody share one of their favorite websites for me quickly? Share one of your favorite websites that you visit regularly. Drop it in the chat room and I'll use that as the example. But let me go to the next point and I'll come back to that. Okay, somebody is saying Pinterest, right? So sometimes, somebody who wants to steal your information, you see how Pinterest is pinterest.com. We're seeing many of your favorite websites. I'm going to go and check some of them out that I haven't heard about before. But sometimes if, let's say, Pinterest is very popular, that was the first one that dropped in, and somebody wants to steal your information, they can make it www.go.pinterest.com or www.pinterest.win.com. The point is that URL will then have an additional element that's not actually Pinterest. So what you need to do when you see something that says, and maybe the offer is too true, or it just popped up and you're not sure if it's true, or you're not sure if it's the accurate website, go to the actual website and see how they write their URL. If something doesn't match, it's a red flag. But these cyber criminals, they're getting so smart that they will make it seem legitimate. Can I be honest with you? I actually got hacked just a month ago. My Lagos mom's Instagram account with 52,000 followers of parents. All your parents are followers. And we got an email that seemed legitimate from our team. And somebody clicked on it. Actually, it wasn't proper Instagram. It was Instagram.com. They had something else. Instagram.something.com. So anybody can fall victim. So you have to be very careful to pay attention. Okay. If a website has the URL in front of it, if it has HTTPS, it means it's a secure website. If it has a green padlock, it means it is safe. So that's a pass. So don't go to any website that says put in your credit card details to buy something. It's not every e-commerce site you should go to. Tell your parents too. They might not know it's Christmas. Maybe they want to buy something. It's not every website that they should be comfortable putting their account details in, because if it's not safe, if it doesn't have the green padlock or it doesn't have HTTPS in front of it, it means it's not secure. If it's not secure, it means it's like just going to the road and putting your card details or your account details on a big billboard on the bridge or at Lekki toll booth, right? It's the same thing. Nobody would do that. So please always just be aware. What are we? Digital detectives, right? Yes, Shein. Oh, my daughter loves Shein. So don't download items from sites that you're not sure about. Remember, guys, if anything seems too good to be true, if something is clickbaity, if something seems like, oh, come here and click here now, because if you don't, you're not going to win. Usually, you want to just say, I don't know, let me check, let me confirm. See, that singular act of pausing and thinking is major to save you from some damage. Okay, now you can start dropping your questions if you have questions, because we're going to start wrapping up. This is 1 hour and it's going to be, I want it to be very interactive, but I'm enjoying this group. You guys are very, very, very engaging and I love it. So let's keep going. What if a hacker got hacked? That's a good point. Olumide, what do you mean by that? Now let's talk about the other bad guy, or what we want to avoid online. That's the instigator, the bully, the person who says mean things online. Has anybody here been a victim of bullying at all? While I wait for that, if you want to say yes, tell me. I'm going to run a quick poll now that I want you all to quickly take while we talk about that. Okay, somebody says they've gotten bullied. I would like to talk about that a little bit more. You can let me know what happened when we get to Q&A, and how are you now? Are you okay? Have you told your parents? What's happened? Because the truth is that bullying is absolutely unacceptable, no matter what. Now, Amaka, who says kind of, let's talk about that as well. There should not be anything like kind of, right? If bullying is bullying, it is wrong. Okay, and you are never at fault, right? You never deserve it, and you are never supposed to manage it, ever. Okay, your friend, my school says no bully is good. My friend had an accident. Okay, so it seems quite a lot of people here that are saying they've known somebody or they themselves. The truth is that being bullied is very, very painful, and it is not okay, right? And there's nobody at all that should have to suffer that in silence. Somebody says they don't get bullied. Fantastic. Okay. Right. We're going to have to talk about this. Do you think there should be a session that we have specifically about bullying? Maybe we should, because some people don't know what to look out for. Some people don't know that, this is bullying. Maybe this is, and then when you don't feel like you're being bullied, the question is, what do you do? Okay. Oh, Fola, you're saying, all right, we got to talk about this because this is bullying is a no. You know when I say no, 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 no. All right, but let me quickly end the poll. That's fine if you don't use any of this. I was just trying to see, get a sense of, what people are using. I see that majority of people use TikTok and WhatsApp. Those are the highest. And then the least used on this platform is Discord. And a lot of people also use Instagram and Snapchat. Okay, so the truth is you might not be using it today based on your age, but it's possible. Maybe your parents are saying when you're 13, or your parents are saying when you're 16, whatever age, it's likely at some point you will get a phone, you will have WhatsApp, and you will be online. So this online safety series and being aware is something that we should all think about, because whether or not you're on it today, guess what? You will get on it at some point. Okay, so we're seeing, yeah, actually, no, I've ended the poll now, and 59% of you use WhatsApp, 53% use TikTok, 24% equally use Instagram and Snapchat, and 19% use Discord. Okay. So anyway, so let's go back to cyberbullying. Bullying is horrible, is bad, is unacceptable, no matter what. Cyberbullying just means that bullying is now happening in the online world as well, which is happening increasingly. So when somebody makes you do something you don't want to do, somebody is sharing inappropriate content or images about you, right? Somebody who's asking to connect with you on video games, and then they say, "Oh, I really like you. Let's go and start talking on WhatsApp, or let's move the conversation off this platform." Don't do it, because something called groomers, a groomer is somebody who knows how to identify that somebody is a child. They start talking to them. Before you know it, they start asking for photos, ask you to do something, ask you to share it, and then they start bullying you that if you don't share more of that, they are going to tell your family, they're going to go to your school. And guess what? Because you have given them all the information, where you go to school, your name, your child, your parents' name, your best friends, they know so much information about you. They know how to create a scenario where the person feels like, oh my God, if I don't give them more information, they're going to go and expose me. So, guys, just be careful. Always think about it. Bullying is wrong. Bullying in school environment, for example, is bad enough. Now, imagine in a cyber world where you're connected to millions of billions of people. Not everybody's going to be a good person, right? So you have to really be careful to make sure that you are not connecting with somebody online that you shouldn't. Okay, people who share mean comments, who say horrible things. Um, I'm seeing somebody here sharing that you had an experience like that. Somebody texted you from a group, I think, but luckily you didn't give them any information. Exactly. If somebody gets in touch with you, wants to start gisting with you elsewhere, then this, don't do it. Don't do. It's the same way you would you ever go somewhere with a stranger in the physical? Would somebody come to you in a party and say, "Hello, how are you? You look nice. Come, let's go over here." You will not go now. It's the same thing online. Oh, don't forget it. Don't forget it. All right. So please make sure that you're very careful about that. Anybody who says mean things about you, takes pictures of you without your consent, even if they're your friend, you should speak up and say, "Do not take that picture of me, or do not share that picture of me without my consent." People need to ask. It's a version of cyberbullying. If somebody has just fallen down and your friends laugh and take a picture of you in the mud and share it, that's not nice. Okay. So let's think about that. Let's think about what it is that what it is that you're doing online. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of comments. Let me put it aside because you guys are gisting so much. It's making me want to see what's going on. So okay, and then we're going to talk about, I think this bullying needs its own session, because what do you do if you're a victim? What are the ways to respond? I'm actually going through a training right now that's teaching me what it means to safeguard children, right? And what does it mean? What do you do? What is the way to escalate an issue if you're a victim of bullying? A lot of people don't necessarily know. Does your school have a process? Can you talk to your parents? Is there somebody trusted in your environment? You can say, this is what's happening. Okay, part of bullying sometimes happen when somebody gets your password or you give it to them, and then they log in as if they are you and start to do the nonsense. But because they're hiding behind you, people think it's you. So we just have to be careful. I don't want us to be paranoid, but I want us to be aware. Okay. All right. Now, before I leave this situation, I also want to talk about the fact that depending on the platforms you use, some of them have clear processes on how you can respond to bullying. You can report, you can block the person, and you can report as well to your parents, obviously, and your teachers and people you trust. And if you don't have anybody you can trust, hey, I'm here. If you need to ever get in touch with me, I'll share my information with you. Okay. But the best person to start with are your parents. Okay. So if anything bad happens online, there's something you can do about it. Don't think you need to suffer in silence. And even if in physical, don't think you need to suffer in silence. All right, so we've talked about the instigator. That's the bully, the cyberbullying, the mean person. They say mean things to you. They abuse you online. They say, "Oh, I'm just joking." Don't tolerate it. It's not a joke. It's not good. If anything makes you feel bad, it's not good. Okay. What are some of the things you can do to deal with troublemakers online? You can ignore them. Okay. And this is physical, but you can use the same idea online. Somebody says nonsense to you online, you can block them, can walk away, stand up for yourself. Somebody says something mean to you, tell them that's not true. Somebody says, for example, you're stupid, be like, I'm not stupid. Like, stand up and speak back to people. Excuse me. Don't pass on gossip and rumors. Talk to your parents or your trusted adults. Okay. Oh, someone here is saying their teachers don't care. We have to talk about this. Your teachers should care. And if they don't care, we need to talk about it. Your parents need to know as well. Okay. You want to take screenshots. If somebody is constantly being nasty to you online, even in these apps where the things are supposed to disappear, you can take a screenshot of it because that's your evidence. All right. Be kind to others. And remember the golden rule. Do unto others as you have them do unto you. Some people are very mean, but when the table gets turned, they don't know how to handle it. Okay, now let's talk about fake news quickly. We're starting to wrap up. This is a picture I came across. But guess what? This is a deep fake. Who has heard of deep fakes? They've created this. They superimpose his head onto a body, right? And they made it seem as if Bill Gates. Do you know who Bill Gates is? Right? Okay. They made it seem as if he was offering to send money to people. And some people believed it. So, guys, is this a clickbait? Yes or no? Yes or no? Put it in the chat. Is this clickbait? This is even fake news, but is fake news / clickbait? Is this? Yes, yes, yes. He's the founder of Microsoft, CEO of Microsoft. So yes, this is a deep fake. This is where people create anything. Even I can do it. I can put a picture and put Beyonce's head on top and say I was with Beyonce at a party. So we have to always be very careful what we see online. Now remember, we're detectives, right? Your detective hat has been dropped, has been installed on your heads now. Everybody here, all of you that signed up today, 35 of you that are here, you are going to know now when you see certain things, they're like, they're not going to fool me, right? So this was something that a lot of people fell for because people want free. They thought, he's giving us 5,000. Let me get my own. Click. It was clickbait, right? So some of the things that we talked about, how to identify fake news, bad stories. Detective power. I love that. I'm going to borrow that. Detective power, right? So you want to check the website and domain. Fake sites often have .co in their domain name. So these are the little things so you guys go have to do some assignments today. Start looking at certain sites. Is this legit? Is it true? And also because you see something on Google doesn't mean it's true, right? Google doesn't own information. Google just pulls everything together for you. So it's your job when you Google something to say, yeah, Sherlock Holmes. It's important for you to say, is this true? Is this legit? How does this look? Right? So think about spelling and grammar. Some of these fake sites, usually they will have typos, but a very good website like a Guardian or CNN, they're not going to have typos, right? They're not going to do clickbait headings. They're not going to say, today the person won $5,000 and you can win your own to click here. No, they're not going to do things like that. Look at the author, so you want to just start paying attention to these things. And the more you do, the more you will get used to it. There's a site I wanted to share. I think it's snoops.com. There are many of them online that let you check facts. They actually let you check if a story is real or not. Okay. All right. Now let's talk about dangerous trends. A lot of us do this, but we need to be careful. It's not every trend you see online you follow. Okay. So remember the guide, and I'll share that with you again. So you have it, maybe you print it out and put it somewhere. What are you sharing? Why? What are you doing? You need to be careful. You need to be careful. A trend is something that everybody's doing online. Maybe there's a hashtag for it, and a lot of people start to do it. A lot of it tends to sometimes pick up on like TikTok or something like that. There was one called the milk crate challenge, and it's good that you don't even know what the trend is, but the truth is that you eventually get to a point where you know what trends are. So I don't believe in saying, oh, my child is too young, they shouldn't know. I want you guys to know, because it's better to know even before you get on, so that when you get on, you're like, this is what the digital detective was telling us. So a milk crate challenge was a silly challenge where people were building milk crate boxes as high as possible, and when they got to the top, some of them will fall, but somebody actually died because they fell, they hit the floor, hit their head. So some trends are stupid. They don't make sense. It's not everything you see you should just jump on. So you always want to be thinking, this doesn't make sense. Why should I do this? I'm glad somebody here is saying TikTok is illegal in your class. Yes, no school should allow social media. That's the truth. But then what happens when you get home? What about the weekend? Okay. So you always want to be aware. But schools indeed should have serious rules. And this is for parents. And this is not a parenting session. So I'll talk to them about it. But parents must know what their school's rules are around social media use, around bullying, around, online use as well. And you can go tell your parents that they should ask your school, what does your school have a rule? Does your school have something? Does your school have any guidelines at all about social media use and online usage? All right, and I think this is our last slide, and then we'll have time for questions. I know we're a little bit over. It's 10 o'clock on the dot. I mean, it's 11 o'clock on the dot. I said 10 to 11, but I'll give a few more minutes so that if we have any questions, especially the bullying one, I want to go back to that. So how to be a responsible digital native, some of the summary, we've talked about a lot of things. Just be careful, pause and think before you post, be sharp and alert. Remember digital detectiveness. That means anytime you're online, you need to think, okay, does this feel real? Is this true? Should I be doing this or not? Be kind to others. Kindness goes and comes. Be kind to others. Be respectful. Always respond, not react. And the difference is reacting is you see something before you even think, you too, yeah, that's reacting. But responding means you read it, you're like, oh, okay. Even that millisecond of a second of pausing is much, much better than you just responding. Okay. Then you want to always think, don't say what you can't say to a person offline, online. Research actually shows, guys, that people are meaner online than offline. Do you know why? Because when you're online, you're behind the screen. It's easy to just not filter your thoughts. It's easy to just share whatever because you're not really thinking that it's another person. It's another person. So you have to be careful. You have to think that, you know what, because people are even meaner online for you, you have to protect yourself and what you watch. I see somebody here saying they're only on WhatsApp. But the truth is that unless your WhatsApp is protected, if you don't turn on some of the privacy settings, anybody that gets your phone number, any way whatsoever, can contact you. I know some people who've been severely have been shared inappropriate pictures because somebody just got their number. So WhatsApp too can be very porous. Parents can think my child is not on social media, but if you have a phone, you're on WhatsApp, you're essentially on social media. Okay. Be positive and open to learn. Ask for help if you need it. Disagree without being disagreeable. There's a way to disagree without being disagreeable. That means you don't have to be nasty about things, right? You don't have to agree with something, but you don't have to go and abuse. Oh, you're so stupid, you're foolish. Look at your head, like, there's no need, okay? And then always ask for permission before posting something about anybody. I even do it with my children now. Before I post anything, maybe a family picture, I'm like, can I post this? So as parents we need to do that as well, so that for our children we want them to learn these things we're saying. We can't just say it and not do it. So for you as well, before you post anything about anybody, make sure you ask, oh, I'm taking this picture, is it okay? We're supposed to ask. We shouldn't just do it and assume that they'll be okay. All right, guys, we're done. Now if you have questions specifically, let me know so I can answer a few questions before we're done. But if anybody wants to get in touch with me at all, this is my email. My name is Yetty, that's YETTY @lagosmoms.com. And my phone number is 0909 000 3784. You can WhatsApp me. So if you have questions, I'm going to go through the chat now. We're officially done. So if anybody wants to, I know some people are busy on Saturday. So if you want to run off to anything else, it's okay if you have to leave. I thank you for being here, and I would appreciate any feedback, anything that you have learned today that's going to help you with being a digital detective and being safe online. I would love for you to drop it in the chat room before you go. Just share with me. What have you learned? What's the one or two things you've taken away today? Maybe something you already knew, but talking about it today brought it back to you or reinforced it for you, or something new that you have learned. So let me start going back. When you want, yes, on YouTube, yes, ask your mom. That's good. Ask your mom before you watch it. And even when you're watching YouTube, remember, try not to turn on there's YouTube for kids, which is for younger children, and YouTube as well. Try not to have it as autoplay. Remember that part of being online aware is that you shouldn't just spend hours online all the time. So one of the things you can do is make sure that you don't have autoplay on, so that when you finish a video, it just goes to the next one. Because remember, all these platforms want you to stay on there long. The longer you stay on, the more money they make. That's it. The longer you stay on any of these platforms, the more money they make, the more they have reports, that analytics that they're getting about you, the more that they're offering ads for you so that they can get you to spend money. So always remember that you own your time. Nobody else owns your time. So on YouTube, for example, you want to make sure that autoplay is not on. So when a video plays, it finishes. You are then the one that decides, do I want to watch something else? Okay, so why we need to get, oh, I love this. Somebody really took some notes here. I like it. I like it. So TikTok is an app that is not an ad app. It's an app that people use to connect. It's actually, it actually started as an app for dancing, right? People just use it to dance and connect, but it's essentially a social media app. It's like Instagram, it's like Twitter, but this one is primarily for people to share videos. Okay, so it's an app. Yes, somebody says they learned about hackers. You learned not to chat with strangers. Take a break. Yes, leave your screens every 30 minutes if you can. Take a break. Get up, walk around for 5 minutes. Take a break so that you don't get into the rabbit hole of just being online for hours. Good, good, good. Oh, do you want it to happen every Saturday morning? I see somebody asking about this. Do you want it to happen every Saturday morning? Is this a yes for every Saturday morning? Would you like this one hour every Saturday like this at this time? We'll just come on and we can talk about anything. So now that we've all done this online safety and I know you have the basic knowledge, we can have our own club, digital club, right? And every Saturday we just come and talk about anything you want to bring up. So for example, how we didn't get a lot of time to go into bullying, we can have a session about that. Okay, I'm seeing yes, 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 yes. All right, we could look at that. I'll get in touch with your parents as well if it's something that we want to do. And then if you can, you join and we can make it a monthly club. Okay, okay. All right, no, I haven't heard of Pokey. What is Pokey? I don't know. I haven't heard of Pokey. All right, guys, this is your gisting. Let me quickly go over. Are there any questions I've missed? Please, if I've missed any questions, just drop it again. I want to talk about the bullying. Everybody here who said that they've been bullied, if you can, please get in touch with me, especially if it's something that you want to discuss more. Now, apart from getting in touch with me, so maybe I can help you a little bit more, please tell your parents if you haven't told your parents. If for any reason you feel you can't, then that's when you can maybe reach out to me. And if you need to know what to do, I have a lot of resources that help you around what to do if you're a victim of bullying, how to report, what you can do to escalate. If your teachers are not doing anything about it, it doesn't mean you should suffer in silence. There are many ways to handle it. Okay. So I take bullying very, very seriously. I was bullied as a child, so I don't tolerate it at all. And that's one thing that I can go crazy about. So maybe that's why I keep going back to it. It's very bad, it's mean, and nobody should have to suffer that, okay? And it's never your fault. I want you to remember that. You need to be careful on websites. Yeah, let me see. Okay, I think a lot of things here were comments versus questions per se. But if I missed any questions, sorry, you can drop it again. Now, what do you mean by what if a hacker gets hacked? It's possible a hacker can get hacked. There's always going to be a boss of a boss, right? So a hacker unfortunately can't get hacked. Well, the question is, why were they hacking before? But you know what? Anybody can get hacked. Anybody can get hacked. So remember that, okay? Okay, you've never been bullied. Fantastic. And I pray it stays that way. Not everybody will get bullied, definitely. It's not everybody in the world that will, but for the few that do, it can be quite dangerous. I'm sure quite a few of you, a lot of you play Fortnite, I'm sure, right? So yeah, let's just all be careful. Okay, I'm seeing there's a question in the Q&A. You play Minecraft. Okay. All right, guys. So we are essentially done for today's session. Thank you for being here. Thank you for those that really participated and shared their feedback. Why am I all able to? The person that put a question in the Q&A, do you mind typing it in the chat? I don't know what's going on with my Zoom. It's not letting me open the Q&A tab. Okay, so if you can just type that question you put in Q&A in the chat. If you need it to be anonymous, you can send it to me personally, directly. I will see. Um, some catfish. Lots of questions today. Catfish is when somebody pretends to be somebody they are not, and then it means catfish means that when you now meet the person, it's actually not them. It could be that they've really changed what they look like. So by the time you see them, you're like, that's not you, you know. And the other one is when somebody impersonates being somebody else, and then when you actually meet them, guess what? You've been catfished. It's not the person. Your friend catfished, really? Did they do the catfishing or were they catfished? What do you mean? All right. Somebody hates Fortnite. Okay. Yes, there will be a replay for everybody who paid to be here today. Unfortunately, I didn't start from the very beginning. I forgot to press record. But yes, there will be a replay and I'll send that to everybody here. Okay, guys, we are done. We are done. Catfish the food. Oh, I see, I see, I see. Catfish the food. I thought you meant catfishing as in actual being catfished online. That's funny. All right, everyone, have a lovely, lovely, lovely weekend. For those who said they're interested in this happening regularly, maybe not every Saturday, maybe twice a month or something like that, we can certainly do that. And I'll be in touch with all your parents. And if that's something you want, we can plan it. I love talking about this stuff, and it's important that we all learn how to do it together for good. Bye, everyone. Have a lovely weekend. Thanks for being here. Remember, stay safe. Pause before you post. Think about how you're feeling when you're online and be a digital detective for good. Okay? Bye.